Tonight, I'm going to tell you about a man who spent 10 years building walls around his heart, only to have a woman shatter them with a single question. Liam Carter, a 32-year-old single father, lived an orderly life, avoiding every risk. Until his young, captivating CEO, Aria Blake, walked into his office late one night, not for business, but with a strange request: help her fix her dating profile. What started as a harmless conversation became the fire that burned every boundary they'd drawn. Follow this story to the end, hit like, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Liam Carter had long ago made peace with the fact that his life would never surprise him again. Every morning arrived with the same practiced rhythm. 6:15, the alarm hummed softly, never jarring, never urgent. He'd slip out of bed without disturbing the small lump beneath the dinosaur-printed comforter across the hall. Coffee first, black and bitter, while he scanned emails that had accumulated overnight. Then the lunchbox. Turkey sandwich, apple slices. The occasional juice box as a bribe for good behavior. By 7, he'd wake Maya with a hand on her shoulder and a quiet, "Morning, kiddo," and she'd grumble her way into consciousness like a bear cub roused too early from hibernation. Breakfast was negotiation. Cereal or toast, backpack or forgotten homework, shoes on the right feet, coat zipped, hair that refused to stay flat no matter how much water he used. Then the drive to school, Maya chattering about nothing and everything, her best friend's new sneakers, a substitute teacher who smelled like cinnamon, a boy named Jacob who kept stealing her erasers. Liam listened. He always listened, because listening was safe. Listening didn't require him to open doors he'd spent a decade nailing shut. By 8:30, he was at his desk in the glass tower downtown, blending into the hum of keyboards and ringing phones. He was good at his job, data analysis for a marketing firm that billed itself as innovative but mostly recycled the same campaigns with different fonts. Liam didn't mind. The work was predictable. Numbers didn't lie, didn't leave, didn't ask for more than he could give. His coworkers liked him well enough. Quiet Liam, reliable Liam, the guy who never caused drama, never missed a deadline, never showed up to happy hour. They'd stopped inviting him years ago, and he'd never corrected their assumptions about why. Let them think he was boring. It was easier than explaining that he had a 7-year-old waiting at home who needed help with her multiplication tables and someone to check for monsters under the bed. He kept his head down, did his work, left at 5 sharp. That was the deal he'd made with himself after everything fell apart. Stability over spontaneity, routine over risk, Maya over everything else. It had been working just fine. Until Aria Blake became CEO. She'd arrived 6 months ago like a weather system nobody saw coming. 29 years old, which made her the youngest executive the company had ever had. Stanford MBA. 3 years at a consulting firm that charged obscene hourly rates. A last name that carried weight in circles Liam didn't travel in. The kind of resume that made middle managers nervous and board members curious. Liam had been in the all-hands meeting when she introduced herself. Watched her stand at the front of the conference room in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his rent. Dark hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless but wasn't. She didn't smile much, didn't use filler words, spoke in clean, declarative sentences about growth targets and operational efficiency and leveraging underutilized assets. Everyone had been polite, cautiously optimistic, waiting to see if she was the kind of leader who rolled up her sleeves or the kind who made sweeping changes from a corner office and disappeared by 4. Turned out, she was neither. Aria Blake worked longer hours than anyone else in the building. She knew every department's metrics, every project's status, every employee's name. She didn't do the fake friendly thing some executives tried, asking about your weekend while clearly not caring. But she wasn't cold either, just direct. She'd stop by your desk, ask a specific question, listen to your answer, then move on. No small talk, no performance. Liam appreciated that. It meant he could stay under the radar. Except he didn't. It started small. A question about a data trend he'd flagged in a report. Then another, a week later, about a campaign's projected ROI. She'd appear at his desk without warning, leaning slightly against the partition, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "Walk me through this," she'd say, tapping a printout with one finger. And Liam would, because she actually listened, because she asked follow-up questions that proved she understood what he was talking about. because when he suggested an alternative approach, she didn't dismiss it out of hand. After the third time, his cube mate, Derek, had leaned over with a smirk. "Dude, I think the Ice Queen likes you." Liam had ignored him. Derek thought everything was a conspiracy or a romantic subplot. The man once spent 20 minutes trying to convince the break room that the vending machine guy was running a gambling ring. But Derek wasn't entirely wrong. Arya did seek Liam out more than others. Not in an obvious way, just enough that he noticed. A question here, a project there. She'd started CCing him on emails that didn't strictly require his input. Twice, she'd asked him to sit in on strategy meetings that were technically above his pay grade. Liam told himself it was because he was good at his job, that she recognized competence and used it. That was all. He did not let himself consider any other possibility, because considering other possibilities was dangerous, because Arya Blake was his boss, and more importantly, she was the kind of woman who lived in a different atmosphere than he did, the kind who wore heels that clicked with authority, who took calls from New York and London, who probably had a penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows and art that cost more than his car. And Liam? Liam had a daughter who needed new shoes every 4 months because she kept outgrowing them. He had a 2-bedroom apartment with a persistent leak under the kitchen sink. He had exactly zero interest in complicating the life he'd worked so hard to keep simple. So when Arya appeared at his desk at 7:45 on a Thursday night, Liam's first thought was that he'd screwed something up. He'd been packing his bag, getting ready to leave. The office was nearly empty, just a few stragglers in other departments. The hum of the building's after-hours ventilation system, the distant sound of a vacuum cleaner somewhere on another floor. He looked up, startled, and found her standing there. She wasn't in a suit. That was the first thing he noticed. Arya Blake always wore suits, sharply tailored, perfectly pressed, a uniform of control. But tonight, she had on jeans. Dark, expensive-looking jeans and a cream-colored sweater that looked soft. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders in a way that made her look younger. Less CEO, more human. Just human. "You're still here," she said. It wasn't a question, but Liam answered anyway. "Finishing up some projections. You?" "Same." She paused, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked uncertain. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, but he caught it. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." She glanced around, even though there was no one nearby to overhear. Then she pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and held it out to him. Liam stared at it, at her, back at the phone. It was a dating app profile, her dating app profile. The photo was professional, almost too professional, like a LinkedIn headshot that had wandered into the wrong platform. Arya in a black blazer, neutral expression, the kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. The bio was worse. CEO, Stanford MBA, passionate about strategic growth and operational excellence, looking for someone ambitious, driven, and intellectually curious. Liam read it twice, trying to figure out if this was some kind of test. "Well?" Arya said. "Well, what? What do you think?" He looked up at her. She was serious, completely serious. "You want my opinion on your dating profile?" "Yes." "Why?" She hesitated again, and this time the uncertainty lingered. "Because I've had it active for 3 months, and I've gone on exactly 2 dates. Both were disasters, and She stopped, seemed to reconsider her words. "I don't understand what I'm doing wrong." Liam set his bag down slowly. This was surreal. His CEO, the woman who could dissect a quarterly report in 10 minutes and make venture capitalists sweat, was asking him for dating advice. "You want honesty?" he asked. "Obviously." He gestured at the phone. "This profile is terrifying." Arya blinked. "Terrifying? Yeah, you sound like you're interviewing candidates for a merger, not a relationship. Strategic growth? Operational excellence? You might as well add synergy and complete the corporate bingo card." Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. For a moment, he thought he'd crossed a line, that tomorrow he'd be cleaning out his desk with a security guard watching. But then, impossibly, she laughed. It was quiet, brief, but real. "That bad?" "Worse. The photo doesn't help either. You look like you're about to fire someone." "I was about to fire someone." That was taken right before a board meeting where I had to let go of 2 directors. Yeah, that tracks. She took the phone back, studied the screen like it had personally betrayed her. So what would you suggest? You really want my help with this? I wouldn't have asked if I didn't. Liam sat back down. This was a mistake. He knew it was a mistake. But she was standing there, waiting, and some stupid part of him that he'd thought was long dead was curious. Okay, first, new photo. Something that doesn't look like it came from a corporate website. Second, rewrite the bio. Completely. Use actual human words. I am human. Debatable. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. Go on. Talk about what you actually care about, not work, not achievements. What do you do when you're not running a company? She thought about it. I don't know. Work, mostly. That's depressing. It's honest. Then lie. Or at least stretch the truth. You must do something. Arya frowned, scrolling through her phone, through her own photos. I go to the art museum sometimes. I run. I read. See? That's something. What do you read? Business books. Liam groaned. Fiction. Tell me you read fiction. Sometimes. Historical fiction, mostly. Biographies. Of CEOs? Of interesting people. Okay, we can work with that. What else? She looked genuinely stumped. It was strange watching someone so competent flounder over something so basic. I travel when I can. I like good food. Wine. Everyone likes good food and wine. That's not a personality. Then what is? Liam leaned forward. What's the last thing that made you laugh? Really laugh, not just polite business lunch chuckling. She went quiet. He watched her think, watched the small crease form between her eyebrows. I don't remember, she said finally. It was the saddest thing he'd heard in months. Okay, he said. New plan. Sit down. Arya glanced at the empty chair beside his desk. Here? Unless you want to do this in your office. But something tells me you're more comfortable in a suit, and that's the opposite of what we need right now. She sat. Slowly, carefully, like she was negotiating a truce. Liam opened a notes app on his computer. We're going to rebuild this thing from scratch, and you're going to answer every question I ask without thinking about how it sounds professionally. This feels like therapy. It's worse. It's online dating. Now, what's something you loved doing as a kid? Why does that matter? Because people don't fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with who you are when you're not performing. So what did young Arya Blake do before she became a CEO? She looked at him for a long moment, and he couldn't quite read her expression. Then quietly she said, I built things. Legos mostly. My parents got me these massive sets, castles, spaceships, entire cities. I'd spend hours putting them together, then taking them apart and building something new. There it is. There, what is? The actual person. He started typing. See? That's interesting. That tells me you're creative, that you like solving puzzles, that you don't just follow instructions. I followed the instructions first, and then you ignored them. Even better. Arya watched him type, her posture softening slightly. You're good at this. I'm good at reading people. It's most of what data analysis is. Figuring out what numbers are actually saying about behavior. Is that what you're doing now? Analyzing me? I'm helping you not sound like a robot. I don't sound like a robot. He turned the monitor toward her, showed her the original bio. Passionate about strategic growth. You literally sound like a marketing brochure. She winced. Okay, point taken. They worked for the next hour. Liam asked questions, some simple, some strange. Favorite place she'd ever traveled. Worst date she'd ever been on. What she'd do if she won the lottery tomorrow and never had to work again. Arya answered slowly at first, cautiously, like she was navigating a minefield. But gradually, something shifted. She relaxed, laughed a few times, argued with him when he tried to cut a sentence she liked. The conversation drifted in unexpected directions. When he asked about her worst date, she told him about a guy who'd spent 2 hours explaining cryptocurrency while she tried to flag down the waiter for the check. When he asked what she'd do with lottery winnings, she admitted she'd probably just keep working because she didn't know how to exist without a goal. That's bleak, Liam said. That's realistic. No, That's avoidance. There has to be something you want that isn't tied to an achievement. She considered this, really considered it, staring at the dark window that reflected the office lights back at them. I want to feel like I'm not performing all the time, like I can just exist without constantly proving I deserve to be in the room. Liam stopped typing. That answer had weight to it, the kind of honesty that felt accidental. Do you feel like that here? He asked. Every single day. She looked at him. Don't you? I don't need to prove anything. I'm not in charge. That's not what I asked. He thought about it, about the careful distance he maintained from everyone, the way he never let conversations go deeper than surface pleasantries, the walls he'd built so high that sometimes he forgot what it felt like to let someone in. Yeah, he said. I guess I do. Arya nodded like she'd expected that answer. So what do we do about it? I have no idea. Helpful. I'm a data analyst, not a therapist. Could have fooled me. By the time they finished the profile, it was completely different. No mention of her job title, no corporate language, just small, specific details. The Lego thing. The fact that she once spent an entire weekend trying to perfect homemade pasta and ended up ordering takeout. That she had a habit of reading the last page of books first because she hated suspense. That she ran not because she loved it, but because it was the only time her brain shut up. This is better, Arya said, reading it over. This sounds like a person. That's because it is a person. You just don't let people see her very often. She looked at him, and there was something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Vulnerability, maybe, or gratitude, or something else entirely that neither of them wanted to name. Why are you helping me with this? She asked. You asked. Most people would have made an excuse and left. I'm not most people. No, she said quietly. You're not. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, but it wasn't entirely comfortable either. Liam became acutely aware of how close they were sitting, of the fact that the office was empty, of the way her sweater sleeve had pushed up slightly to reveal a thin silver bracelet on her wrist. A tiny detail, but it felt significant somehow, proof that she wore jewelry that wasn't just for show, that there were parts of her life he knew nothing about. He stood up, breaking the moment. You should change the photo too. Find something that doesn't look like a mugshot. Arya stood as well, slipping her phone into her pocket. I'll work on that. Good. She didn't leave immediately, just stood there, looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite parse, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle and the pieces weren't fitting the way she expected. Thank you, Liam. It's just a dating profile. It's not, though, is it? He didn't know how to answer that, so he didn't. Arya nodded like she'd gotten the response she expected and turned to go. She made it 3 steps before she stopped. Liam? Yeah? Do you ever... She paused, choosing her words carefully. Do you ever feel like you're good at everything except the things that actually matter? The question hung in the air between them, heavy and honest. Every day, he said. She nodded again, and then she left. Liam stood there for a long time after she was gone, staring at the empty doorway, trying to convince himself that what had just happened was nothing. A random conversation, a favor for a colleague, meaningless. But when he finally picked up his bag and headed for the elevator, his hands were shaking. He drove home on autopilot, his mind replaying the entire interaction. The way she'd laughed, the way she'd looked at him when she said thank you, the crack in her armor when she admitted she didn't remember the last time she'd really laughed. Maya was already asleep when he got home. His neighbor, Mrs. Chen, had picked her up from after-school care and given her dinner. Liam paid her the usual $20, thanked her for the 100th time, and locked the door behind her. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. He stood in the kitchen, staring at the pile of dishes in the sink, at the crayon drawing Maya had taped to the refrigerator that morning, a stick figure family that included him, her, and what appeared to be a dragon, still feeling the strange electric hum of the past hour in his chest. This was dangerous. He knew it was dangerous. Arya Blake was his boss. She was brilliant, driven, and lived in a world he didn't belong in. More than that, she was looking for something. Someone. And Liam was the last person who should be anywhere near that search. He had a daughter to think about, a life built on stability and routine. He couldn't afford distractions. He couldn't afford her. But when he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while the streetlight outside cast shadows across the wall, he couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd looked at him when she asked if he ever felt like he was good at everything except what mattered. Because the answer wasn't just every day. It was every single moment since you walked into my office and asked me to help you. And that terrified him more than anything else. The next morning, Liam woke up determined to forget the entire thing. It was a one-time conversation, an anomaly. Arya would update her profile, meet someone impressive and polished, and that would be that. Life would return to normal, safe, predictable. Except she didn't let it. 3 days later, she stopped by his desk again. Same time, late evening, the office mostly empty. He'd been working on a market segmentation analysis, lost in spreadsheets, when her voice cut through his concentration. "It's not working." Liam looked up. She was standing there in another suit, this one navy blue, with that same expression of frustration she'd worn when she first asked for his help. "What's not working?" "The profile. I'm getting matches, but..." She shook her head. "Every conversation feels like a job interview. It's exhausting." "Maybe you're matching with the wrong people. Or maybe I'm the wrong people." He saved his work and turned to face her fully. "What do you mean?" Arya pulled out her phone, showed him a string of messages. Polite, articulate, completely sterile exchanges about favorite restaurants and weekend plans. Nothing offensive, nothing interesting either. "See," she said, "it's like talking to clones of myself. And I already spend 60 hours a week being me. I don't want to date me." Liam scrolled through the messages, and she was right. Every guy sounded like they'd workshopped their responses. Careful, calculated, boring. There was Marcus, 36, investment banker. "I appreciate good cuisine and interesting conversation. Perhaps we could meet at that new French place downtown." There was David, 33, corporate lawyer. "Your profile stood out. I value intelligence and ambition in a partner. Coffee sometime?" There was Jonathan, 35, startup founder. "Impressive background. We should definitely connect. My schedule is flexible next week." All perfectly acceptable. All completely lifeless. "You need to filter better," Liam said. "I filtered out everyone who opened with a pickup line or a shirtless gym photo. This is what's left." "Then you need to change your approach. Stop trying to impress them. Start trying to see if they're actually worth your time." "How?" "Ask weird questions. See how they react. If they can't handle weird, they definitely can't handle you." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm not weird. You spent an entire weekend trying to make pasta from scratch and failed. That's subjectively weird. That's commitment. It's weird commitment. Ask them something unexpected. What's their most embarrassing childhood memory? What superpower would be the most inconvenient? If they had to fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?" Arya stared at him. "You're insane." "I'm efficient. You'll know in 3 messages if they have a sense of humor or if they're going to bore you to death over overpriced wine." She considered this, scrolling back through her matches. Then she started typing. "What are you doing?" Liam asked. "Taking your advice." She turned the phone toward him. The message read, "If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, but it had to be something you currently hate, what would you pick?" "That's good," Liam said. "Weird, but not too weird." They waited. 30 seconds later, Marcus, the investment banker, responded. "Probably liver. High in iron, good nutritional profile." "You?" Arya made a face. He analyzed it. Next, she moved to David the lawyer, sent the same question. This time the response was faster. "LOL, is this a test?" "Better," Liam said. "But lazy. He's deflecting instead of engaging." "Next?" "Next." Jonathan, the startup founder, didn't respond at all for 5 minutes, then sent, "Is this some kind of personality assessment? I'm happy to discuss over coffee instead." "He's treating it like a business proposition," Arya said, "because that's all he knows how to do." Next, 3 more tries. One guy sent a paragraph explaining why the question was illogical and how hypotheticals weren't useful for determining compatibility. Another sent a string of emojis that didn't answer anything. The third unmatched her immediately. "This is hopeless," Arya said, but there was less frustration in her voice now, almost amusement. "It's filtering. Keep going." She sent the question to one more match, a guy named Eric, 34, software engineer. His profile was minimal, One decent photo of him on a hiking trail, squinting into the sun, looking slightly windblown and real. His bio just said building things, breaking things, repeat. His response came through a minute later. Brussels sprouts, but only if I can cover them in enough cheese to commit a health code violation. Also, this is the weirdest question I've gotten all week, and I respect that. Arya's expression shifted, just slightly, the smallest hint of a genuine smile. There, Liam said. That's someone who's actually awake. He's a software engineer. So? So I spend all day with tech people. Then unmatch him. But at least now you know what an actual personality looks like in text form. She didn't unmatch him. Instead, she typed a response. Cheese-covered vegetables are an underrated life strategy. What's your stance on ranch dressing as a food group? Eric wrote back immediately. Controversial take, but ranch is just socially acceptable, mayonnaise, and I'm willing to die on that hill. Arya laughed. Actually laughed. Not the polite chuckle she used in board meetings, but something real. He's wrong, but at least he committed to the wrongness, she said. They fell into an easy rhythm, Arya typing responses while Liam offered commentary. Eric proved to be quick-witted, self-deprecating, willing to engage with absurd hypotheticals. When Arya asked him what his most useless skill was, he responded that he could recite the entire periodic table backwards, but couldn't remember where he parked his car. This feels different, Arya said after 10 minutes of back and forth. Because it is. He's not trying to impress you. He's just talking. I like it. Good. Then keep doing this. Stop performing. Start being honest. Arya looked up from her phone, her expression shifting to something more serious. Is that what you do? Just honesty all the time? I have a 7-year-old. Honesty is the only thing that works. Kids can smell bullshit from a mile away. Tell me about her. The shift in conversation caught him off guard. What? Your daughter. You've mentioned her a few times. Maya, right? What's she like? Liam hesitated. He didn't talk about Maya at work. Didn't bring his personal life into the office. It was part of the wall he'd built. Keep things separate. Keep things simple. But Arya was looking at him with genuine curiosity, and something about the past 20 minutes made the usual rules feel less important. She's stubborn, he said. Smart, talks constantly, has an opinion about everything. Sounds like someone I know. She's nothing like you. She likes everyone, makes friends in grocery store lines, thinks the world is fundamentally good. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's not. It's... He stopped, searching for the right word. It's hopeful. And I want to keep it that way as long as I can. Arya set her phone down, giving him her full attention. You're protecting her from something. It wasn't a question. From everything, Liam said. From disappointment. From people who'll let her down. From finding out that most things don't work out the way you hope they will. That's a heavy weight to carry alone. I'm her dad. It's the job. Where's her mom? The question landed like a stone dropped into still water. Liam felt the familiar tightening in his chest that always came when someone asked. Most people at work didn't know. He'd never volunteered the information, and the few who'd asked early on had learned quickly that it wasn't a topic he discussed. But Arya wasn't most people. And for some reason he couldn't quite explain, he found himself answering. Gone. Has been since Maya was 2. She decided motherhood wasn't what she wanted and left. Haven't heard from her since. Arya's expression didn't change dramatically. No shock, no pity, just a quiet understanding. That must have been hard. It was. But we managed. He shifted in his chair, uncomfortable with the vulnerability, but unable to stop himself from continuing. The first year was a disaster. I had no idea what I was doing. Maya cried all the time. I cried most of the time. My mom helped when she could, but she lives 4 hours away. I learned how to do pigtails from YouTube videos, burned more dinners than I can count. There were nights I thought I was failing her completely. But you didn't. I'm still not sure about that. She's 7, and she thinks the world is good. That means you did something right. Liam looked at Arya, really looked at her, and saw something he hadn't expected. Not judgment, not the polite sympathy people usually offered when they learned he was a single parent. Just recognition, like she understood what it meant to carry something heavy and keep moving forward anyway. What about you? He asked. Any family you're protecting from the world? Just myself. She said it lightly, but there was an edge to it. My parents are still together, still successful. Still wondering when I'm going to settle down and give them grandchildren. They don't understand why being CEO of a mid-sized marketing firm isn't enough. Why I'm not married yet. Why I keep choosing work over everything else. Are you choosing it? Or is it just easier than the alternative? Arya went quiet. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer. I don't know anymore. I used to think I was building towards something. That if I worked hard enough, achieved enough, I'd reach some point where I could relax. But that point keeps moving, and now I'm 29, running a company, and I can't remember the last time I had a conversation that wasn't about quarterly projections or market share. Until now. Until now. She picked up her phone again, glanced at the screen where Eric had sent another message asking if she'd ever eaten something just because someone dared her to. This is strange, isn't it? Sitting here in an empty office, talking about things that have nothing to do with work. It's different, Liam agreed. Do you ever do this? Talk to people about real things? Not really, haven't had much reason to. Why not? He thought about how to answer that. About all the reasons he'd kept himself closed off for the past decade. Because real conversations lead to real connections. And real connections mean people get close enough to leave. I've had enough of that for one lifetime. Arya nodded slowly like she was processing something important. So you just, what? Exist in this bubble where nothing touches you? Something like that. How's that working out? Fine. Until recently. The weight of what he'd just implied hung in the air between them. Arya held his gaze for a long moment, and Liam felt something shift. Some invisible line they'd been carefully avoiding had just been acknowledged, if not crossed. Her phone buzzed. Eric again, asking if she wanted to grab coffee sometime. You should say yes, Liam said, breaking the tension. Should I? He seems decent, actual personality, doesn't take himself too seriously. What if I'm not interested in him? Then you're wasting both your time and his. Arya looked at the message, then back at Liam. What if I'm interested in someone else? The office suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Liam was acutely aware of every sound, the hum of the ventilation system, the distant sound of traffic from the street below, his own heartbeat loud in his ears. Then you should probably figure out if that's a good idea before you blow up your life, he said carefully. And if it's not a good idea, then you should probably do it anyway. Good ideas are overrated. She smiled at that, small, genuine, aimed directly at him. You're full of contradictions, Liam Carter. I'm full of bad advice. There's a difference. I don't think it's bad advice. It's terrible advice. I'm literally telling you to make decisions that could complicate everything. Maybe I want complicated. No, you don't. Trust me. Complicated is exhausting. Complicated is messy. Complicated is real. Liam stopped. Because she was right. Complicated was real. And he'd spent so long avoiding real that he'd almost forgotten what it felt like. They sat in silence for a moment, the conversation having veered into territory neither of them had intended to explore. Finally, Arya stood up, straightening her jacket in a gesture that felt like putting armor back on. I should go, she said. It's late. Yeah, me too. But neither of them moved. Liam? Yeah. If you were on a dating app, what would your profile say? The question surprised him. I'm not on dating apps. But if you were? He thought about it, about what he would even say. What version of himself he'd be willing to show strangers, what truths he'd be brave enough to admit. I have no idea, he said finally. Why not? Because I don't know who I am outside of being Maya's dad. That's been my whole identity for so long that I can't separate it out. And I don't think that's what people are looking for when they swipe through profiles. Arya considered this. Maybe that's exactly what someone's looking for, someone who knows who they are and what matters. Or maybe it's just boring. It's not boring, it's honest, and that's rarer than you think. That's the most honest answer I've heard all week. She grabbed her bag from where she'd set it on the floor. Same time tomorrow? What? I'm going to need help figuring out what to wear for this coffee date with Eric. You seem to have opinions about everything else. Liam couldn't tell if she was joking. I'm a data analyst, not a stylist. But you're good at reading people, and I trust your judgment. Your judgment is questionable. Probably. See you tomorrow, Liam. And then she left, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. leaving Liam sitting alone in his cube, wondering what the hell had just happened. When he finally made it home, 40 minutes later than usual, Maya was still awake, curled up on the couch with Mrs. Chen, watching some cartoon about talking animals solving mysteries. "Daddy!" She launched herself at him with the full-body enthusiasm only 7-year-olds could manage. "Hey kiddo, why aren't you in bed?" Mrs. Chen said I could stay up because you were late and I was worried. Liam shot Mrs. Chen an apologetic look. She just smiled and gathered her things. "She was fine," Mrs. Chen said. "We had dinner, did homework, she's a good girl." After Mrs. Chen left, Liam carried Maya to her room despite her protests that she was too big to be carried. He tucked her in, pulling the dinosaur comforter up to her chin. "Why were you so late?" she asked. "Work stuff." "Boring work stuff?" "Very boring." But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. Nothing about tonight had been boring. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "Do you ever get lonely?" The question caught him completely off guard. "What?" "No, I've got you, don't I?" "That's not what I mean." Maya's dark eyes, so much like his own, studied him with an intensity that was unnerving. "Mrs. Chen says everyone needs grown-up friends, too. Do you have grown-up friends?" "I have co-workers." "That's not the same." "Who made you so smart?" "You did. You always say I get my brains from you." Liam smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "I'm fine, Maya, I promise." "Okay." She sounded unconvinced, but too tired to argue. "Love you, Daddy." "Love you too, kiddo." He stayed there until she fell asleep, watching the rise and fall of her breathing, feeling the weight of her question pressing on his chest. "Do you ever get lonely?" The honest answer was yes. Every single day. But he'd convinced himself that lonely was better than vulnerable. That being alone was safer than letting someone get close enough to leave. But tonight, sitting in that office with Arya, he'd felt something he hadn't felt in years. Connected, seen. Like there was someone who might actually understand the contradictions he carried around. The way he could be both content and restless, both protective and afraid, both present and completely unavailable. He went to his own room, lay down in the dark, and stared at the ceiling. This was dangerous. More dangerous than he'd initially thought. Because it wasn't just attraction, though that was there too, humming under the surface of every conversation. It was recognition. Like Arya Blake had walked into his carefully controlled life and held up a mirror that showed him everything he'd been avoiding. And the worst part? He wasn't sure he wanted to look away. The next 3 weeks unfolded like a slow-motion collision Liam could see coming but couldn't stop. Arya didn't show up at his desk the following night like she'd joked she would. Instead, she appeared 2 days later, mid-afternoon this time, in full CEO mode, tailored gray suit, hair pulled back, the professional mask firmly in place. "Conference room B in 10 minutes, she said as she passed his cube. "Bring the consumer behavior analysis." Derek leaned over the partition the moment she was out of earshot. "What'd you do?" "Nothing." "Nobody gets summoned to conference rooms for nothing." Liam gathered his files and ignored him. But Derek was right. This felt different, more formal. Like Arya had deliberately put distance between whatever had happened in those late-night conversations and the daylight version of their professional relationship. When he walked into the conference room, she was already there, laptop open, reviewing something on the screen. She didn't look up immediately. "Close the door," she said. He did, then sat across from her. The table felt like a barrier. Intentional. "The Q3 campaign data came back," Arya said, still focused on her screen. "Your projections were accurate. Better than accurate, actually. You called the demographic shift 2 weeks before it showed up in the metrics. Just doing my job. I want you to present it to the board next week." Liam blinked. "What?" "They need to see how we're adapting our targeting strategy." "You built the model. You should present it." "That's not... I don't do presentations. That's your department heads. That's Marcus or Jennifer." "Marcus doesn't understand the data the way you do. Jennifer oversimplifies. I want someone who can walk them through the methodology without dumbing it down." She finally looked at him. "I want you." There was nothing suggestive in her tone, nothing that referenced the conversations they'd had in the empty office. This was pure business. But Liam felt the weight of it anyway, the trust implicit in putting him in front of the board, the risk she was taking by elevating someone who wasn't management. "Okay," he said. "I'll send you the meeting details. Plan for 20 minutes, plus questions. Don't oversell. Just show them what the numbers say." "Understood." Arya closed her laptop. "That's all." He stood, grabbed his files, headed for the door. His hand was on the handle when she spoke again. "Liam?" He turned. She looked like she wanted to say something else. Something that had nothing to do with board presentations or quarterly data. But whatever it was stayed locked behind her professional expression. "Good work," she said finally. "Thanks." He left and the door clicked shut behind him with a sound that felt too final. Over the next week, Liam prepared for the presentation with the same methodical focus he applied to everything. Refined the slides, rehearsed the talking points, ran scenarios for every possible question the board might ask. He stayed late 3 nights running, and each time he half expected Arya to appear at his desk with another question about her dating profile or some other excuse to talk about things that weren't work. She didn't. He told himself it was better this way, that those conversations had been an aberration, that she'd realized the same thing he had, that crossing certain lines, even conversationally, was dangerous when your lives were this asymmetric. But on the 4th night, when he was packing up to leave, his phone buzzed. Unknown number, text message. "It's Arya." Eric was nice. Also boring. "You were right about the filtering thing." Liam stared at the screen. She'd given him her personal number. Or rather, she'd texted him from it, which meant she'd had his number already, probably from HR files. He should not respond. Responding meant opening a door he'd been trying very hard to keep closed. He typed anyway. "Boring how?" The response came 30 seconds later. "Spent an hour talking about his app startup. Used the word disruptive 17 times. I counted." "That's impressively boring. I've sat through budget meetings more engaging than that coffee date." "So you're saying the filtering isn't working?" "I'm saying maybe the problem isn't the filter. Maybe it's that I'm looking in the wrong place." Liam's thumb hovered over the keyboard. This felt like a line being drawn, or erased. He wasn't sure which. "Where should you be looking?" he typed. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, "I don't know, but I'm starting to think dating apps aren't the answer." "What is?" The dots appeared and stayed for a long time, long enough that Liam wondered if she'd decided not to answer. Then, "I'll let you know when I figure it out. Good luck with the board presentation." And that was it. Subject changed. Door closed. Liam set his phone down and forced himself to focus on the drive home, on Maya's bedtime routine, on anything other than trying to decode what Arya had meant. The board presentation went better than he expected. The 12 members, mostly older, mostly men, listened with varying degrees of attention as he walked through the consumer segmentation analysis. A few asked pointed questions. One challenged his methodology. Arya sat at the head of the table, silent, watching him handle each question without interfering. When he finished, the board chair, a woman in her 60s named Patricia, nodded approvingly. "This is solid work. Arya, we should have more of your team presenting directly." "I agree," Arya said. "Liam's been an underutilized resource. That changes now." After the meeting, she caught up with him in the hallway. "You did well," she said. "Thanks for the opportunity. It wasn't charity. You earned it." She paused, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "Listen, I'm putting together a task force to overhaul our client retention strategy. I want you on it. Means longer hours for the next month, but also means you'll be working directly with senior leadership. Interested?" Liam's first thought was Maya. Longer hours meant more time with Mrs. Chen, more dinners eaten in front of the TV instead of at the table, more bedtime stories rushed through because he got home too late. His second thought was that Arya was offering him exactly what most people in his position would kill for: visibility, access, a path out of the anonymous middle. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Let me know by Friday." She walked away before he could say anything else, her heels clicking against the polished floor with that same authoritative rhythm that somehow never sounded rushed. That night, after Maya was asleep, Liam sat at the kitchen table with a beer he wasn't really drinking and tried to think through the decision logically. The smart move was obvious. Say yes. Take the opportunity. Build towards something better for Maya's future. The hours would be brutal for a month, but then it would level out. and he'd be positioned for advancement. The safe move was equally obvious. Say no. Keep his head down. Maintain the boundaries that had kept his life stable for the past decade. The problem was that neither option addressed the actual question that had been gnawing at him since that first night Arya appeared at his desk. What did he actually want? Not for Maya. Not for some theoretical future version of himself. Right now, today, what did Liam Carter want? He didn't know. And that uncertainty was more terrifying than any decision about work. His phone buzzed, another text from Arya's number. Question, completely hypothetical. Okay. If someone asked you out and it would complicate your entire professional life, would you say yes? Liam set his beer down, stared at the screen. This wasn't hypothetical. This was as far from hypothetical as a question could get. Depends, he typed. On what? On whether the complication would be worth it. How would you know? You wouldn't. That's what makes it a risk. The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times before her response came through. I hate risk. I know. But I also hate wondering what if. Also know that. You're not making this easier. I'm not trying to. This isn't an easy question. What would you do? If someone asked you out and it would complicate everything? Liam's hands were shaking again. He set the phone down, stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot, at the streetlights reflecting off car hoods, at the ordinary Tuesday night stillness of his ordinary life. Then he picked the phone back up. I'd probably say no, because I've spent 10 years building a life that doesn't fall apart when things get hard. And falling for someone is the easiest way I know to make things fall apart. That's bleak. It's honest. What if that person was worth the risk? Then it wouldn't be my decision. It would be Maya's. And I can't ask a 7-year-old to sign off on her dad blowing up their stability for someone who might not stick around. The response took longer this time. That's fair and smart. And also the saddest thing I've heard in a while. Welcome to single parenthood. It's all sad and smart decisions. Liam? Yeah. This wasn't hypothetical. You know that, right? His heart was doing something complicated in his chest. Yeah, I know. I'm going to ask you something, and you can say no. You should probably say no, but I need to ask anyway. He waited. Do you want to have dinner with me? Not work dinner, not professional development, just dinner. As 2 people who keep having conversations they shouldn't be having. Liam stood in his kitchen, phone in hand, and felt the entire careful architecture of his life teetering on the edge of something he couldn't name. Every logical part of his brain was screaming no. This was his boss. This was a complication he couldn't afford. This was exactly the kind of risk he'd spent a decade avoiding. But there was another part, smaller, quieter, but growing louder every time they talked, that was screaming yes. He typed 3 letters and stared at them for a full minute before hitting send. Yes. The response was immediate. Tomorrow night? There's a place downtown, Italian, quiet. We can talk without the entire office watching. What about Maya? Bring her. That stopped him. What? You said you can't make decisions without considering her, so don't. Bring her. Let me meet the person you're protecting. Arya, that's too much? Too fast? Probably. But I'm tired of doing things the right way and ending up alone. So if this is going to be complicated, let's at least be honest about it from the start. Liam read the message 3 times. This woman who ran board meetings and fired directors was suggesting they have dinner with his 7-year-old daughter on what was essentially a first date. It was insane. It violated every rule he'd set for himself about keeping his personal and professional lives separate. Okay, he typed. Really? You're right. If we're going to do this, might as well be honest. Maya will tell me exactly what she thinks of you. No filter. That's terrifying. You run a company. You can handle a 2nd grader. Those are not equivalent challenges. You'll be fine. Tomorrow at 7, text me the address. Liam? Yeah? I'm glad you said yes. Ask me again after you've met Maya. He set the phone down and stood in the kitchen for a long time, trying to process what he'd just agreed to. Then he walked down the hall to Maya's room, pushed open the door, and watched her sleep. I hope I'm not screwing this up, kiddo, he whispered. She didn't answer, just rolled over and hugged her stuffed dinosaur closer. Liam went to bed that night knowing he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. and for the first time in years, he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to. The next day crawled by with excruciating slowness. Liam tried to focus on work, but every time his phone buzzed, his heart jumped. Arya sent the restaurant address at noon. Casual Italian place, not too fancy. Outdoor seating if the weather held. At 3, she sent another message. Second thoughts? Hundreds. Same. Still going? Yeah. Good. See you at 7. Liam left work at 4:30, picked up Maya from after-school care early, and drove home trying to figure out how to explain this to a 7-year-old. We're having dinner with someone tonight, he said, as they walked into the apartment. Maya looked up from her backpack, suspicious. Who? A friend from work. You don't have friends from work. You have Derek, and you say Derek is annoying. Derek is annoying. This is someone else. Is it a girl? Yes. Maya's eyes went wide. Like a girlfriend? Like a friend who happens to be a girl. We're just having dinner. Does she know about me? Of course she knows about you. I talk about you all the time. You do? All the time, Liam lied. He barely mentioned Maya at work, deliberately keeping that part of his life private. But Arya knew. She'd asked. That counted for something. Maya considered this, working through some internal 7-year-old logic. Okay, but I'm wearing my dinosaur shirt. You always wear your dinosaur shirt. Because it's my favorite. Fair enough. They got to the restaurant 10 minutes early. It was exactly as Arya described. Small, warm lighting, checkered tablecloths. The kind of place that felt welcoming without trying too hard. A few families scattered across the outdoor patio, the evening air just cool enough to be comfortable. Arya was already there, sitting at a corner table. And when Liam saw her, something in his chest tightened. She wasn't in a suit. Jeans again, and a soft blue sweater that made her look younger, more uncertain. Her hair was down. She dressed like a person, not a CEO, and somehow that made this feel more real. She stood when she saw them, and Liam watched her take in Maya, the dinosaur shirt, the messy ponytail, the cautious way she gripped Liam's hand. Hi, Arya said, crouching down to Maya's eye level. You must be Maya. I'm Arya. Maya studied her with the brutal honesty only children possessed. You're pretty. Thank you. I like your shirt. Velociraptors? T-Rex. Velociraptors are small. You're absolutely right. I apologize to the T-Rex. Maya's grip on Liam's hand loosened slightly. First test passed. They sat down, and for the first few minutes, the conversation was careful. Safe. Arya asked Maya about school, about her favorite subjects, about the substitute teacher who smelled like cinnamon. Maya answered in bursts, warming up slowly, still watching Arya like she was trying to figure out a puzzle. When the waiter came, Arya ordered pasta. Maya ordered pizza. Liam ordered something he didn't really process because he was too focused on watching the two of them interact. So your dad tells me you're really smart, Arya said. He says that because he has to. He's my dad. I think he means it. Maybe. I'm good at math and reading, but I'm bad at art. My trees look like broccoli. Arya laughed, genuine, surprised. Everyone's trees look like broccoli. That's just how trees work in kid drawings. Do you draw? Not anymore. I used to build things instead, with Legos. Maya's eyes lit up. I have Legos, a whole castle set. Dad helped me build it, but I designed the moat myself. That sounds impressive. What's in the moat? Lava and sharks. Lava sharks. That's genius. And just like that, Maya decided Arya was acceptable. Liam watched his daughter talk about her Lego castle, about the elaborate backstory she'd created for the princess who lived there, about how the princess didn't need rescuing because she had a dragon. Arya listened like she actually cared, asked questions, didn't patronize, treated Maya like a person whose opinions mattered. It was such a small thing. But Liam felt it shift something fundamental. After dinner, Maya excused herself to the bathroom, and for the first time, Liam and Arya were alone. She's incredible, Arya said. She likes you. That's rare. She usually takes weeks to warm up to people. I'm honored. Arya paused, then asked quietly, How are you feeling about this? Terrified. Same. What are we doing, Arya? I don't know, but I know I haven't felt this okay in months, maybe years, and that has to mean something. Or it means we're both lonely and confusing connection with compatibility. always the analyst. It's what you pay me for. I'm not paying you to have dinner with me. No, that one's free. She smiled, and Liam felt the terror mix with something else, something that felt dangerously like hope. Maya came back, announced she wanted gelato, and Arya immediately said yes before Liam could protest about sugar before bedtime. They walked 3 blocks to a gelato place, Maya between them, talking nonstop about everything and nothing. At one point, Maya reached up and grabbed Arya's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Liam saw Arya's expression shift. Surprise, then something softer. She didn't let go. When they finally made it back to the car, Maya was riding a sugar high and talking at twice her normal speed. Arya walked them to the parking garage, and when they reached Liam's car, she crouched down again to Maya's level. I had a really good time tonight, Arya said. Me too. Can we do it again? If your dad says yes. Maya turned to Liam with the full force of her 7-year-old conviction. Say yes, Daddy. We'll see. That means yes. Arya laughed, stood up, and met Liam's eyes over Maya's head. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for not running when she started explaining the entire plot of her favorite cartoon. That was the best part. They stood there in the parking garage, the overhead lights casting strange shadows, neither quite ready to end the evening. I'll see you at work, Arya said finally. Yeah, see you. See? She walked away, and Liam got Maya buckled into her car seat. As he pulled out of the garage, Maya said, I like her, Daddy. I'm glad. Are you going to marry her? Liam nearly drove into a concrete pillar. What? No, we just had dinner. But you like her too, I can tell. It's complicated, Maya. Why? Because she's my boss. Because we work together. Because there are rules about these things. Rules are stupid. Sometimes, but they exist for a reason. Maya was quiet for a moment, watching the city lights pass by her window. Then she said, Mom left because she didn't want to be here anymore. Right? Liam's hands tightened on the steering wheel. They didn't talk about this. He'd learned early on that Maya didn't ask about her mother often, and when she did, it was better to keep the answer simple. Right, he said. Is Arya going to leave too? I don't know, kiddo. Then why don't you find out? It's not that simple. It sounds simple. You like her. She likes you. She likes me. Why can't she just stay? Because people don't just stay, Maya. Sometimes they leave even when you want them to stay. And I need to make sure that when that happens, we're okay. But what if she doesn't leave? What if she stays and you didn't even try? Liam didn't have an answer for that, because his 7-year-old daughter had just articulated the exact fear that had been eating at him since the moment he said yes to dinner. What if she stays and you didn't even try? When they got home, he tucked Maya in and sat on the edge of her bed longer than usual. Daddy? Yeah? I think you should try. Go to sleep, kiddo. Okay, but I still think you should try. Liam kissed her forehead, turned off the light, and walked back to the kitchen. His phone was on the counter. One new message. Tonight was perfect. Thank you for letting me meet her. He stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. She liked you. That's high praise. I liked her too. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. Liam? Yeah? I meant what I said. I haven't felt this okay in a long time. I don't want to lose that. What if it gets complicated? It's already complicated. Might as well see where it goes. Liam set the phone down and stood in his kitchen, feeling the weight of every decision pressing down on him. The safe choice. The smart choice. The choice that protected Maya from disappointment. And then there was the other choice. The one that meant risk and uncertainty and possibly wrecking the careful balance he'd maintained for a decade. His daughter's voice echoed in his head. What if she stays and you didn't even try? He picked up the phone and typed 5 words before he could talk himself out of it. I want to try too. The response came immediately. Then let's try. And just like that, Liam Carter, who had spent 10 years avoiding risk, who had built his entire life around stability and routine, who had promised himself he'd never let anyone close enough to leave again, took a step off the edge of something he couldn't see the bottom of. He had no idea if it would work. No idea if Arya Blake would still be there in a month, a year, a decade. But for the first time since Maya was born, he wanted to find out. The trying turned out to be harder than either of them expected. For the first 2 weeks, they managed to keep things quiet. Dinners happened off-site, always casual places where the chances of running into coworkers were minimal. Arya would text him after Maya went to bed, and they'd talk about nothing important: bad movies they'd seen, childhood memories, the weird quirks of their respective daily routines. At work, they maintained careful distance, professional, appropriate, no lingering conversations at his desk, no closed-door meetings without legitimate business reasons. It was working until it wasn't. The cracks started showing on a Wednesday afternoon when Jennifer from marketing stopped by Liam's cube with a question about demographic data. Arya happened to walk past at the same moment, and Jennifer turned to her. "Oh, Arya, while you're here, do you have a second to approve the revised budget for the Henderson campaign?" "Send it to my assistant," Arya said without breaking stride. "I'm on my way to a meeting." Jennifer nodded, but after Arya was gone, she leaned closer to Liam. "Is it just me, or has she been weird lately?" "Weird how?" "I don't know. Distracted? She spent 15 minutes in our strategy session yesterday just staring out the window. That's not like her." Liam kept his expression neutral. "Maybe she's tired. She works like 80 hours a week." "Maybe." Jennifer didn't sound convinced, but she dropped it and went back to her questions about the data. That night, Liam texted Arya. "Jennifer thinks you're acting weird." Jennifer thinks everyone is acting weird. Last month, she was convinced the CFO was embezzling because he bought a new car. Fair, but maybe we should be more careful. We are being careful. Are we? The response took longer this time. "I don't know how to do this, Liam. I've never had to hide something at work before. I'm either all in or completely out. This middle ground is exhausting. Welcome to my entire existence. How do you stand it? Practice and low expectations." That's bleak. You keep saying that because you keep being bleak. Despite the tension, they kept going. Another dinner, this time at a Thai place 40 minutes outside the city where no one from the office would possibly venture. Maya came along again, and Arya brought a small Lego set, a dragon that matched Maya's castle theme. Maya's face lit up like Christmas, and she spent the entire meal planning how to integrate it into her existing fortress. Liam watched Arya help Maya sort the tiny pieces, explaining the instruction booklet with the same focus she probably brought to board presentations, and felt something dangerous settle in his chest. This wasn't just attraction anymore. This wasn't just connection. This was the beginning of something that could actually hurt when it ended. After they dropped Maya off at home, Mrs. Chen was staying late to supervise bedtime. Arya suggested they drive out to the overlook on the east side of the city. It was a spot where people went to see the skyline, mostly teenagers looking for privacy and tourists taking photos. They sat on the hood of Liam's car, the city spread out below them in a grid of lights, and for a while neither of them spoke. "I need to tell you something," Arya said finally. Liam's stomach dropped. Here it comes, he thought, the rational decision, the acknowledgement that this was a mistake. "Okay?" "People at work are starting to notice. Not that there's something between us specifically, but that I'm different. Marcus asked me yesterday if I was seeing someone. I said no, but I'm a terrible liar." "What did he say?" "That I should be, that I seem happier." She turned to look at him. "He's right. I am happier, and that terrifies me." "Why?" "Because happiness feels temporary, like something I borrowed that I'll have to give back eventually." Liam understood that more than he wanted to admit. "So what do we do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to just tell everyone and deal with the fallout. The other part knows that's career suicide for both of us." "It's worse for you," Liam said. "I'm replaceable. You're not." "Don't say that. You're not replaceable." "I'm a data analyst. There are 50 people who could do my job, but none of them are you." She said it quietly, like an admission she hadn't meant to make out loud. Liam felt his chest tighten. "Arya, I know this is complicated. I know we're risking everything, but when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm performing. I don't feel like I have to be the youngest CEO or the smartest person in the room or prove that I deserve to be there. I just feel like me, and I haven't felt that way in years. What if it's not enough? What if we blow up our lives for this and it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. Isn't that what you told me? That you'd rather risk it than spend the rest of your life wondering? That was advice I gave you, not advice I follow myself." Maybe you should start. They sat in silence, the weight of the decision hanging between them like the city lights below, beautiful and fragile and entirely dependent on infrastructure neither of them controlled. I can't ask Maya to go through another person leaving, Liam said. That's the line I can't cross. I'm not going to leave. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. You're right. I don't. But I know I want to stay. Doesn't that count for something? It did. That was the problem. It counted for too much. Liam reached over and took her hand. It was the first time they'd touched deliberately, intentionally, and the contact felt electric. I'm terrified, he said. Me too. But I don't want to stop. Neither do I. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and they sat there watching the city breathe. Two people who'd spent their entire lives building walls, finally letting them crack. The next morning, Liam walked into work and knew immediately that something had shifted. Derek was waiting at his cube, practically vibrating with gossip energy. Dude, have you heard? Heard what? Marcus is transferring to the Atlanta office. They announced it this morning. He's taking a VP position down there. Liam set down his coffee. Marcus was one of Arya's direct reports, her head of client strategy. When? End of the month, which means Arya is going to need someone to fill his role. Derek waggled his eyebrows suggestively. You just presented to the board. You're on the task force. Betting pool says you're the front runner. That's insane. I'm not qualified for VP. You weren't qualified to present to the board either, but you crushed it. Face it, man. The Ice Queen has a favorite, and it's you. Liam felt sick. This was exactly what they'd been trying to avoid. Visible favoritism, the appearance of impropriety, people asking questions they couldn't answer honestly. He made it through the morning on autopilot. Bam? Then got summoned to Arya's office at noon. She closed the door behind him, and he could see the tension in her shoulders. You heard about Marcus, she said. Yeah. The board wants me to promote from within. They're pushing for you. Arya, we can't. I know exactly how this looks, but you are the best person for the job. You understand the data better than anyone. You can translate strategy into metrics. You've earned this. Have I? Or does it just look like I've earned it because we're... He gestured vaguely between them, unable to finish the sentence. Arya's expression hardened. Don't do that. Don't diminish your work because of what's happening between us. Those things are separate. Are they? Can you honestly say you'd be considering me for this if we weren't involved? Yes, I can. Because I was considering you for advancement before we ever had that first conversation about my dating profile. Before any of this started. You've been underutilized for years, and I saw that the moment I looked at your work. This has nothing to do with us. But it looks like it does. That's the problem. She leaned back against her desk, arms crossed. So what do you want me to do? Pass you over for someone less qualified to avoid the appearance of favoritism? That's not fair to you or the company. I want you to tell me the truth. If I take this job, will people assume I slept my way into it? Probably. The honesty hit him harder than he expected. Then I can't take it. Liam, I won't do that to you. I won't be the reason people question your judgment or your integrity. You've worked too hard to build this position, and you've worked too hard to turn down a career opportunity because of what other people might think. It's not about what they think. It's about what's true. We are involved. And if I get promoted right now, that connection will taint everything. Arya was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was strained. So what are you saying? That we stop? That we go back to being just colleagues? The thought made his chest ache. I don't know, maybe. You don't mean that. I don't want to mean it. But Maya asked me the other night if you were going to leave, and I didn't have an answer, because I don't know, Arya. I don't know if this is real or if we're just two lonely people who found each other at the right time, and I can't blow up my career, our careers on I don't know. It is real. She said it with the same certainty she used in business meetings. Declarative. Final. I don't know a lot of things. I don't know how to make this work without complications. I don't know how to be in a relationship and run a company at the same time, but I know this is real. How? Because I spent 29 years building the perfect life on paper, and I was miserable. And then I met you, and for the first time I felt like maybe perfect wasn't the point. Maybe real was the point. Maybe connection was the point. Liam wanted to believe her. Every cell in his body wanted to believe her. But belief required trust, and trust was the one thing he'd run out of years ago. I need time, he said, to think about the promotion, about all of this. How much time? I don't know. Arya nodded, her professional mask sliding back into place. Okay, take the time you need. But Liam, don't make this decision based on fear. Make it based on what you actually want. What if I don't know what I want? Then figure it out, because I can't want it enough for both of us. He left her office feeling like he'd been hollowed out. Spent the rest of the day staring at spreadsheets without processing any of the numbers. Left at 5 sharp, picked up Maya, went through the motions of dinner and homework and bedtime stories. After Maya fell asleep, he sat in the dark living room and tried to untangle the mess in his head. His phone buzzed. Arya, I'm sorry if I pushed too hard today. You didn't. You were honest. I appreciate that. Are we okay? He stared at the question for a long time before answering. I don't know. Fair enough. Let me know when you do. Liam set the phone down and put his head in his hands. This was why he'd avoided this. Why he'd built the walls. Why he'd promised himself he'd never let anyone close enough to complicate things. Because now it was complicated. Now there were feelings involved and career implications, and a 7-year-old who was already getting attached. Now there was no clean way out that didn't hurt someone. 3 days passed. Liam avoided Arya at work, kept his head down, tried to think clearly. But every time he started to talk himself into walking away, he'd remember the way she'd helped Maya with the Lego dragon. The way she'd admitted she was terrified too. The way her hand had felt in his on the overlook. On the 4th day, Maya brought it up. They were eating breakfast, cereal for her, burnt toast for him, when she said, You haven't talked about Arya in a while. Liam looked up. We've been busy. Is she mad at you? No, why would you think that? Because you're sad. And last time you were this sad was when Mom left. The comparison punched him in the gut. I'm not sad, kiddo. You are. I can tell. Did Arya leave too? She didn't leave. We're just figuring some things out. Maya pushed her cereal around with her spoon, not eating. I liked her. I know. Do you still like her? Yeah, I do. Then why are you figuring things out instead of just being with her? Because it's complicated. Grown-up stuff. Grown-ups make everything complicated. You should just tell her you like her and ask her to stay. That's not how it works. Why not? Liam didn't have a good answer. Because his 7-year-old was right. He was making it complicated. He was the one creating obstacles where maybe they didn't need to exist. That night, after Maya was in bed, he called Arya. Not texted, called. She answered on the 2nd ring. Hi. Hi, can we talk? Of course. Not on the phone. Can you come over? There was a pause. Now? If that's okay. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She made it in 15. Liam opened the door, and she stood there in jeans and an oversized sweater, hair still damp like she'd just gotten out of the shower, and he realized he'd never seen her look more beautiful. Come in, he said. They sat on the couch, the same couch where Maya had been curled up with Mrs. Chen weeks ago, and Liam tried to figure out where to start. I've been thinking, he said. That sounds ominous. Probably is. I've been thinking about what you said, about not making decisions based on fear. And you're right, I've been doing that for 10 years. Every choice I make is about avoiding risk, protecting Maya, making sure nothing falls apart. That's not a bad thing. It's not. But it's also not living. It's just surviving. And I don't want Maya to grow up thinking that's what life is, just getting through it without getting hurt. Arya waited, letting him work through it. I want to take the promotion, Liam said, not because of you, not in spite of you, but because I earned it. And if people want to make assumptions, that's their problem, not mine. Okay, but I need you to promise me something. What? That if this doesn't work, if we try this and it falls apart, you won't take it out on my career. That you'll separate what happened between us from my work. Arya's expression shifted to something fierce. I would never do that. Never. Your career is yours. It doesn't belong to me or to whatever happens between us. I needed to hear you say it. Then hear this too. I don't think this is going to fall apart. I think it's going to be hard and messy and complicated, but I think it's going to work. Because I'm all in, Liam. Completely. And I don't say that lightly. He looked at her, this brilliant, terrifying woman who'd somehow crashed through every defense he'd built, and made a decision that felt like jumping off a cliff and growing wings at the same time. I'm all in too, he said. Arya's eyes went bright. Yeah? Yeah, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of protecting myself from things that might not even happen. And I'm tired of pretending I don't want this. What do you want? You. This. Whatever messy, complicated thing we're building. I want to try. She kissed him then, and it wasn't careful or calculated. It was relief and want, and the release of weeks of tension. Liam kissed her back, his hands in her hair, her body pressed against his, and for the first time in years he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Arya laughed quietly. What? Liam asked. I just realized we're doing this completely backwards. Most people date, then meet the kids, then figure out the career stuff. We've done all of it in reverse. We're not most people. No, we're definitely not. They stayed on the couch for another hour, talking through logistics, how they'd handle things at work, when they'd tell people, what it would mean for both of their careers. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't easy, but it was honest, and that mattered more. When Arya finally left, close to midnight, Liam walked her to her car. Thank you, she said, for taking the risk. Thank you for being worth it. She drove away, and Liam stood in the parking lot for a long time, feeling the weight of what they'd just committed to. It was terrifying. It was potentially career-ending. It was the most dangerous thing he'd done since Maya was born. It was also the first time in a decade he'd felt truly alive. The next morning, he walked into Arya's office and accepted the promotion. She shook his hand across the desk, professional and appropriate, but he saw the small smile she couldn't quite hide. Congratulations, VP Carter. Thank you, CEO Blake. We'll announce it at the staff meeting this afternoon. There's going to be questions. Let them ask. You ready for this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The staff meeting went exactly as Liam expected. Polite applause when Arya announced his promotion. Surprised faces from people who'd barely noticed him before. A few openly skeptical expressions from the ones who'd probably already started connecting dots. After the meeting, Derek cornered him immediately. Dude, VP, I called it. You called lottery numbers once and lost. This doesn't mean you're psychic. Are you sleeping with her? The question landed like a slap. Liam kept his expression neutral. That's inappropriate. That's not a no. It's none of your business. Derek studied him, then shook his head. Man, you're playing with fire, you know that, right? I know exactly what I'm doing. Do you? Because if this goes south, you're not just losing a job. You're losing everything. Thanks for the concern, I've got it handled. But as Liam walked back to his new desk, in the VP suite, with actual walls instead of cube partitions, he knew Derek was right. He was playing with fire. The question was whether what he'd found was worth the burn. By the end of the week, the rumors had started. Nothing explicit, nothing he could point to and deny. Just whispers in break rooms that went quiet when he walked in. Looks that lingered too long. The subtle shift in how people interacted with him, some more deferential, some more distant. Jennifer stopped by his new office on Friday afternoon. Congratulations on the promotion, she said, but her tone was flat. Thanks. Must be nice, having connections. There it was. The thing everyone was thinking, but only Jennifer was bold enough to say out loud. I earned this position, Liam said carefully. I'm sure you did. Just saying, it's interesting how quickly you went from analyst to VP, fastest promotion I've seen in my 8 years here. Maybe that says more about how long I was underutilized than anything else. Jennifer smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Maybe. Or maybe some people just have better luck than others. She left before he could respond, and Liam sat at his new desk, feeling the walls close in. This was what they'd signed up for. The judgment. The assumptions. The constant need to prove that what they had was real and that his career was legitimate. He texted Arya. Jennifer just implied I slept my way into the VP role. Do you want me to talk to her? No, that'll make it worse. I'm sorry. I knew this would happen, but I'm still sorry. It's fine, I can handle it. You shouldn't have to. But he did. They both did. That was the price of choosing each other in a world that didn't make space for complications. That weekend, Arya came over for dinner. Liam cooked, badly, while Maya set the table and asked 1,000 questions about whether Arya had ever been to Disney World and if she thought unicorns were real. After dinner, they built the Lego dragon together, all three of them on the living room floor, pieces scattered everywhere. Maya narrated the entire construction process, giving the dragon a backstory involving magic and betrayal and redemption that was surprisingly sophisticated for a 7-year-old. Liam watched Arya listen with genuine interest, watched her suggest design modifications that made Maya's face light up, and felt something settle in his chest. This was real. Whatever happened at work, whatever people said, whatever complications arose, this moment, right here, was real. Later, after Maya was in bed, Arya stayed. They sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist, and didn't talk about work or rumors or the mess they'd created. "I could get used to this," Arya said quietly. "The couch?" "The whole thing. Coming home to people who actually want me here. Not having to perform or prove anything. Just being. You're always welcome here." "Even when it gets harder?" "Because it will get harder, Liam. Work is just the beginning." "I know." "And you're still in?" He turned to look at her, this woman who'd somehow become essential in the space of weeks. "I'm still in. Are you?" "Completely." They kissed, slow and certain, and Liam felt the last of his resistance crumble. He'd spent 10 years building walls to protect himself and Maya from being hurt again. But somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten that walls didn't just keep pain out. They kept everything out. Joy. Connection. The possibility of something real. Arya had crashed through those walls like they were made of paper, and for the first time in a decade, Liam wasn't trying to rebuild them. He was learning to live without them entirely. The hardest part about living without walls turned out to be that everyone could see inside. The rumors escalated over the next 3 weeks. What started as whispered speculation in break rooms turned into something more pointed, more aggressive. Someone, Liam never found out who, started a thread on the company's anonymous feedback platform, questioning whether the recent VP promotion had been based on merit or other factors. HR got involved. Arya had to sit through a 2-hour meeting with the board explaining her decision-making process, defending Liam's qualifications with spreadsheets and performance reviews that dated back years before they'd ever spoken. She came out of that meeting with her jaw tight and her eyes blazing. "They asked if we were sleeping together," she told Liam that night. They were in his apartment, Maya already asleep, speaking in low voices that wouldn't carry down the hall. "What did you say?" "I told them my personal life wasn't relevant to Liam Carter's professional qualifications, that he earned the promotion based on 3 years of exceptional work that previous management had ignored, that if they wanted to question my judgment, they should start by asking why it took a new CEO to recognize talent that had been sitting under their noses the entire time." "How did they take that?" "Patricia backed me up, said the data spoke for itself, but 2 of the board members, Thompson and Chen, they're not convinced. They think I'm compromised, that I'm making emotional decisions instead of strategic ones." Liam felt the old familiar weight settle on his chest. "Maybe you should distance yourself, publicly. Make it clear that whatever's between us doesn't affect work." Arya looked at him like he'd suggested she set the building on fire. "Absolutely not. I'm not going to pretend you don't exist to make them comfortable. I'm not going to hide this." "Arya." "No. Listen to me. I've spent my entire career doing exactly what they wanted, being the good daughter, the perfect student, the professional who never stepped out of line. And you know what it got me? A corner office and complete isolation. I'm done performing for people who are never going to be satisfied anyway. This isn't about performance. This is about your career, your reputation. My reputation is that I run a successful company. The numbers don't lie, Liam. Revenue is up 18% since I took over. Employee retention is the highest it's been in 5 years. We just landed the Berkshire account, which everyone said was impossible. If Thompson and Chen want to reduce all of that to who I'm sleeping with, that's their problem, not mine." She was right. Intellectually, Liam knew she was right. But he also knew how the world worked. Knew that women in power got held to different standards. Knew that one wrong move could undo years of credibility. "I don't want to be the reason you lose everything you've built," he said quietly. Arya took his face in her hands, forced him to look at her. You're not. You're the reason I remembered why I built it in the first place. To have the freedom to make my own choices, to live on my own terms. What's the point of having power if I can't use it to choose the life I actually want? What if choosing me costs you that power? Then I'll build something else. But I'm not walking away from you to appease people who think my personal life is their business. Liam wanted to believe it was that simple, but nothing in his experience had ever been that simple. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Liam was in a client meeting, his first as VP, presenting a market analysis to a potential account worth 7 figures, when his phone buzzed. He ignored it, buzzed again, and again. By the 4th time, he excused himself and checked. 12 missed calls from Maya's school. His heart stopped. He stepped out of this conference room, called back immediately. The school secretary answered. Mr. Carter, thank goodness. Maya's fine, but we need you to come pick her up. There's been an incident. What kind of incident? She got into a fight with another student. She's in the principal's office. Maya had never been in a fight, never even gotten a stern talking to from a teacher. She was the kid who made friends with everyone, who cried when characters in movies got hurt. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He went back into the conference room, apologized to the client, and handed the presentation off to his assistant. Drove to the school with his hands shaking on the steering wheel. Maya was sitting outside the principal's office, her shirt torn at the shoulder, a scrape on her cheek. When she saw him, her face crumpled. Daddy. He crouched down, pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? She nodded against his chest, but he could feel her trembling. Principal Hendricks, a stern woman in her 50s who'd always been pleasant during parent-teacher conferences, invited them into her office. Another girl sat there with her mother, a woman Liam vaguely recognized from school pickup. The girl had a bloody nose, tissue pressed to her face. Mr. Carter, Principal Hendricks said, Maya struck another student. We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. Maya doesn't hit people. What happened? The principal looked at Maya. Do you want to tell your father, or should I? Maya's voice was small. Kelsey said you were a gold digger. Liam blinked. What? She said her mom said you're dating your boss and that's why you got promoted. That you're a gold digger using her for money. I told her to take it back and she wouldn't, so I pushed her, and she pushed me back and then I hit her. The room went very quiet. Liam looked at the other mother, Susan something, married to a guy in accounting. She had the decency to look embarrassed. Kids hear things, Susan said defensively. They repeat what they hear at home. I may have mentioned some office gossip, but I never thought... You never thought your daughter would bring it to school and use it to bully mine? Liam's voice was dangerously calm. You never thought that speculating about my personal life at the dinner table might have consequences? It's not speculation if it's true. Principal Hendricks held up a hand. That's enough. This isn't about Mr. Carter's personal life. It's about 2 students who need to learn to resolve conflicts without physical violence. Maya, you're suspended for the rest of the day. Kelsey, same for you. And both of you owe each other apologies. I'm not apologizing, Maya said, her voice stronger now. She was mean about my dad. Maya, Liam started. No. She was mean, and she was wrong, and I'm not sorry I stood up for you. Something in Liam's chest broke and mended at the same time. His 7-year-old daughter, who believed the world was fundamentally good, had thrown a punch defending him. Apologize for hitting, he said quietly. Not for standing up for what you believe in. Those are different things. Maya looked at Kelsey. I'm sorry I hit you, but my dad's not a gold digger. He works really hard and he's good at his job, and it's not fair that you said that. Kelsey mumbled an apology that sounded more coerced than genuine, and Principal Hendricks dismissed them all. In the car, Maya was silent. Liam drove them home, his mind racing through everything that had just happened. The fact that office gossip had reached school pickup conversations. That his daughter was facing social consequences for his choices, that the careful compartmentalization he'd maintained for years had just exploded in the most public way possible. When they got home, he sat Maya down on the couch. You know hitting isn't okay, he said. I know, even when someone says something mean. I know, but Daddy, she was wrong. You're not using Arya. You like her because she's nice and she's smart and she helps me build Legos. That's not gold digging. How do you even know what gold digging is? I heard you and Arya talking about it, when you didn't think I was listening. Of course she had. Kids heard everything. You're right, Liam said. Kelsey was wrong. But you can't hit people for being wrong, even when it hurts, even when it's about someone you love. Then what am I supposed to do? Use your words, tell a teacher, walk away. Anything except violence. But walking away makes it seem like they're right. No. Walking away means you're strong enough not to let someone else's words control your actions. That's harder than hitting back. And it's braver. Maya processed this, her small face serious. Are you mad at me? I'm proud of you for defending our family. But I'm disappointed that you hit someone. Both things can be true. Is Arya still going to like us, now that everyone's talking about it? The question gutted him, because it was the same question he'd been asking himself since the rumors started. I don't know, kiddo. I hope so. But hope felt fragile right now. He texted Arya after Maya went to her room, explained what happened, waited for her response. It came 10 minutes later. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in the car. She arrived 20 minutes later, still in her work clothes, and immediately asked to see Maya. She's in her room, probably doesn't want to see anyone right now. I'd like to try anyway. Liam showed her to Maya's door. Arya knocked softly. Maya, it's Arya. Can I come in? Silence. Then a quiet, okay. Liam watched from the doorway as Arya sat on the edge of Maya's bed. His daughter was curled up with her stuffed dinosaur, eyes red from crying. I heard what happened at school, Arya said. I'm sorry I hit Kelsey. I'm not here about that. I'm here because I wanted to tell you something important. Maya looked up. What Kelsey said about your dad being a gold digger, that's not true. Not even a little bit. Your dad is one of the smartest, hardest working people I know. He earned his job because he's excellent at what he does, not because of me. And anyone who says different is either jealous or ignorant or both. That's what I tried to tell her. I know. And you were right to stand up for him. But you're going to hear more things like that. People are going to say stuff that isn't true because they don't understand. And it's going to hurt. But you know what the best revenge is? What? Living well, being happy, showing them that their words don't have power over you. Can you do that? Maya nodded slowly. Good. Because your dad is the bravest person I know, and you're just like him. You're brave enough to stand up for what matters. But you're also brave enough to walk away when fighting isn't worth it. How do I know the difference? Arya smiled. That's the hard part, but I think you'll figure it out. You're pretty smart, just like your dad. After Arya left Maya's room, she found Liam in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with his arms crossed. Thank you, he said, for that. She needed to hear it. So did I, honestly. Arya moved closer, took his hands in hers. This is getting worse, isn't it? The gossip. Yeah. I can fix this. I can restructure the company, move you to a different division so we're not in the same reporting chain. Take away the optics problem. That doesn't solve anything. People will still talk. They'll just say you're covering it up. Then what do we do? Liam had been thinking about this since the phone call from Maya's school, had been turning it over in his mind during the entire drive home, watching his daughter face consequences for his choices. I think I should transfer, he said. Arya went very still. What? To another branch. Atlanta, maybe, since Marcus just opened up that space. Or Chicago. Somewhere far enough that it breaks the connection. That protects your reputation. No. Arya, no. I'm not letting you sacrifice your career to protect mine. It's not a sacrifice. It's a lateral move. Same title, same pay. Just different location. And different city, different life. You'd be away from Maya half the week, if not more. Don't pretend this isn't a sacrifice. Better than her getting bullied at school because her dad is sleeping with his boss. The words came out harsher than he intended, and he watched Arya flinch. Is that what you think this is? She asked quietly. That you're just sleeping with your boss? That's what everyone else thinks. I don't care what everyone else thinks. Well, I do, because Maya does. Because she shouldn't have to defend my choices to her classmates. Because this, us, it's affecting her, and that's the one line I can't cross. Arya's eyes were bright with something that looked like tears, though she wouldn't let them fall. So what are you saying? That we're done? I'm saying maybe we need to step back. Reassess. Figure out if there's a way to do this that doesn't hurt the people around us. There isn't. There's never going to be a way to do this that makes everyone happy. That's not how life works. Then maybe we're doing the wrong thing. The words hung between them like broken glass. Arya took a step back, and Liam watched her professional mask slide into place. The same mask she wore in board meetings when someone questioned her authority. Cold, controlled, untouchable. "If you want out, just say it," she said. "Don't make excuses about protecting Maya or your career. If you're done, be honest enough to admit it." "I'm not done, but I'm also not willing to let my daughter pay the price for my happiness." "So you're choosing her over me?" "I'm choosing her over everything. That was always going to be the answer. You knew that from the beginning." "I did. I just thought maybe I could be part of that everything. I thought maybe there was room for both." "There isn't. Not like this. Not when being with me costs you your reputation and costs Maya her peace." Arya nodded slowly, like she'd expected this but hoped she'd be wrong. "Okay. Okay. Okay? If you want to transfer, I'll approve it. I'll make sure you get placement wherever you want. Atlanta, Chicago, wherever. I won't fight you on this." "Arya, but let me be clear about something, Liam. I'm not stepping back. I'm not reassessing. I know exactly what I want, and it's you. It's this. It's the messy, complicated thing we built. And if you walk away from that, if you choose to protect yourself and Maya by running to another city, that's your choice. But don't expect me to pretend it doesn't hurt. Don't expect me to be professional and understanding about losing the first real thing I've had in years." Her voice cracked on the last word, and Liam felt something break inside his chest. "I don't want to lose you," he said. "Then don't. Stay. Fight for this. Fight with me instead of protecting me from consequences I'm willing to face." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You're scared. You're scared that I'm going to leave like Maya's mom left. You're scared that if you let me all the way in, I'll find some reason you're not enough and I'll walk away. So you're walking away first. You're calling it protection, but it's really just fear." The accuracy of it hit him like a punch. "Maybe it is fear," he said, "but it's also reality. People don't stay, Arya. They say they will. They mean it when they say it. But then life gets hard or complicated or boring and they leave. And I can handle that for myself, but I can't handle watching Maya go through it again." "So you're going to deny her the chance to have someone who actually wants to stay? You're going to model for her that love means running away the moment things get difficult?" "I'm modeling that sometimes the brave thing is knowing when to quit." "That's not brave. That's giving up." They stared at each other across the kitchen, and Liam realized this was the fight they'd been avoiding since the beginning. The fundamental question neither of them had wanted to answer. Could this actually work? Or were they just delaying the inevitable? "I'm going to file the transfer request tomorrow," Liam said. "Give us both some space to think clearly." "And if I tell you not to?" "If I say I'm restructuring the company instead, taking away the reporting relationship so there's no conflict of interest? People will still talk. Let them. I'm restructuring anyway. Effective immediately, you'll report directly to the board on special projects. Not to me. Not to anyone in the executive chain. Completely independent. That removes the professional conflict." "Arya, that's insane. It's strategic. We need someone doing cross-functional analysis anyway. Someone who can look at the whole company without departmental bias. That's you. It's a promotion in everything but title, and it means we're not in a supervisor-subordinate relationship anymore. The board will never approve that. Patricia already did. I called her on the way over here, told her I was restructuring to address conflict of interest concerns, and she agreed it was smart. Thompson and Chen can complain all they want, but Patricia has the deciding vote." Liam stared at her. "You did this. Tonight. In the 20 minutes it took you to drive here. I told you, I'm all in. That means finding solutions instead of running away. What if it's not enough? What if people still assume? Then they assume. But at least we'll know we tried. At least we'll know we fought for this instead of letting other people's opinions make our choices for us." Liam felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Stay and fight. Transfer and protect. There was no safe answer. No choice that didn't come with consequences. But as he looked at Arya, standing in his kitchen with her eyes bright and her chin up, refusing to back down even when he was giving her every reason to, he realized something. He'd been so focused on protecting Maya from loss that he'd forgotten to show her what it looked like to fight for something worth keeping. "Okay," he said. "Okay, okay. We fight, we stay, we figure this out." The relief on Arya's face was immediate and profound. "Yeah? Yeah, but if this gets worse, if it starts affecting Maya more than it already has, we revisit. We don't just push through for the sake of pushing through." "Agreed. But Liam? It's already affecting her. She already cares about me. She already sees me as part of your life. Leaving now doesn't protect her from loss. It just teaches her that people she cares about disappear when things get hard." She was right. He knew she was right. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "Me too, but I'm more terrified of not trying." He crossed the kitchen and pulled her into his arms, held her tight enough to feel her heartbeat against his chest. She wrapped her arms around him and held on just as tightly. "I'm sorry," he said into her hair, "for almost running, for not fighting harder. You were protecting your daughter, I get it, but let me help you protect her. Let me be part of this family instead of a threat to it." "You were never a threat. You were the scariest thing that's happened to me in years, but not a threat." She laughed, muffled against his shoulder. "I'll take that as a compliment." They stood there in his kitchen, holding each other while Maya slept down the hall, and Liam felt the fear start to transform into something else. Not certainty. He was too much of an analyst to ever believe in certainty when it came to people, but commitment. The choice to show up even when the outcome was unclear. "I need to check on Maya," he said finally. "Go, I'll wait." He found his daughter asleep, the stuffed dinosaur clutched in her arms, her face peaceful despite the day's chaos. He kissed her forehead gently, pulled the blanket up around her shoulders. When he came back to the kitchen, Arya was looking at the drawing Maya had taped to the refrigerator weeks ago. The stick figure family that included him, Maya, and a dragon. "Is that supposed to be me?" Arya asked, pointing to the dragon. "Probably. Maya's been obsessed with dragons since you brought her that Lego set. I like that she made me the dragon. Dragons are loyal. They protect what matters. They also breathe fire." "Well, yeah, but only at people who deserve it." Liam laughed, and it felt good, felt normal, felt like maybe they could actually do this. "Stay tonight?" he asked. "Nothing. Maya's here, so just stay. Sleep on the couch. Wake up with us. Be part of the morning chaos." Arya looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I want her to see that you're not going anywhere, that when things get hard, you stay." "Okay, but I'm stealing one of your shirts because I'm not sleeping in a blazer." "Deal." They stayed up too late, talking on the couch in low voices about everything and nothing, about Arya's restructuring plan and how to handle the inevitable pushback, about Maya's suspension and whether Liam should talk to Kelsey's mother or let it go, about the future, tentatively, like people walking on ice that might crack. Eventually, Arya fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, and Liam sat there in the dark apartment, listening to her breathe, feeling the weight of another person in his space. It should have felt intrusive, should have triggered all his old defenses about maintaining boundaries and protecting his carefully controlled life. Instead, it felt right. When morning came, Maya wandered into the living room and found them there. Arya still asleep on the couch, Liam just waking up in the chair he'd moved to sometime in the night. "Did Arya stay over?" Maya whispered. "Yeah, is that okay?" Maya considered this seriously. "Is she staying for real or just visiting?" "I don't know yet, kiddo. We're figuring it out." "I hope she stays." "Me too." Maya climbed into his lap, and they sat there watching Arya sleep. This woman who'd somehow become essential to both of them, and Liam made a promise to himself. Whatever came next, whatever gossip or judgment or professional consequences, he wouldn't run. He'd fight. Not just for Arya, but for the possibility that his daughter might grow up seeing love as something worth the risk. Because maybe that was the real lesson. Not that people don't leave, not that safety comes from keeping everyone at arm's length, but that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone stay. The staying turned out to be the hardest and simplest thing either of them had ever done. Arya woke up on Liam's couch that morning to the sound of a 7-year-old making breakfast, which meant cereal scattered across the counter, milk dripping onto the floor, and Maya standing on a chair trying to reach the bowls on the top shelf. "Need help?" Arya asked from the doorway. Maya jumped and nearly fell off the chair. "You're awake. I was trying to make breakfast for everyone, but the bowls are too high." "I've got it." Arya retrieved 3 bowls, helped Maya pour cereal without creating more of a mess, and by the time Liam emerged from his bedroom, hair sticking up, wearing a t-shirt that had seen better days, they were sitting at the table like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Morning," he said, his voice rough from sleep. "Morning," Arya replied, and something about the domesticity of it, the 3 of them in pajamas eating cereal on a Saturday morning, felt more intimate than anything that had come before. They spent the day doing nothing important, took Maya to the park, built more of the Lego castle, ordered pizza for dinner because none of them felt like cooking. Arya stayed until Maya's bedtime, read her a story about dragons and princesses who saved themselves, and when she left, Maya hugged her tight. "Are you coming back tomorrow?" Maya asked. Arya looked at Liam. He nodded. "If you want me to," Arya said. "I want you to. Then I'll be back." After Maya was asleep, Liam walked Arya to her car. The parking lot was quiet, just the distant sound of traffic and the buzz of streetlights. "Thank you," he said, "for staying, for fighting, for all of it. Thank you for letting me. I'm still scared." "Good. Me too. Means we're paying attention." She kissed him, brief, gentle, and drove away. Liam stood in the parking lot watching her taillights disappear, and for the first time in weeks, the fear felt manageable. The restructuring Arya had promised happened fast. By Monday afternoon, the entire company had received an email announcing the new organizational structure. Liam Carter, VP of Strategic Analysis, would now report directly to the board on cross-functional projects. Arya Blake's direct reports were consolidated under a new COO position that would be filled internally. The memo was clinical, professional, backed by business justifications about efficiency and removing silos. It didn't mention the rumors or the relationship or anything personal. It didn't have to. Everyone knew exactly what it was. Arya removing the professional conflict so nobody could claim impropriety. The reactions were mixed. Some people, Patricia especially, called it smart leadership. Others saw it as confirmation that something inappropriate had been happening. Derek stopped by Liam's office that afternoon with his usual lack of filter. "So she restructured the entire company to keep dating you. That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or completely insane. It's a legitimate organizational improvement." "Sure it is, and I'm the Easter Bunny." Derek sat down uninvited. "Look, man, I'm going to be real with you. Half the office thinks this is ridiculous. The other half is jealous. But nobody thinks it's going to work. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm saying you need to know what you're walking into. People are watching, waiting for you to screw up so they can say they were right. Then I won't screw up. That's not how life works, and you know it. You're going to make mistakes. She's going to make mistakes. And when you do, everyone's going to blame it on the fact that you're together instead of just normal human error." Liam knew Derek was right, but knowing it and living with it were different things. The first real test came 3 weeks later. Liam had been working on a comprehensive analysis of their client retention patterns, the project the board had specifically requested when they approved Arya's restructuring. It was important work, the kind that could shift company strategy for the next 5 years. He'd spent weeks building models, running scenarios, interviewing account managers. The findings were clear. They were losing mid-tier clients at an alarming rate because the company was chasing large accounts and neglecting the smaller relationships that provided stable revenue. He presented his findings to the board on a Thursday. Arya was there, but she'd deliberately positioned herself at the opposite end of the table. Professional distance. Liam walked them through the data, showed them the revenue projections, explained his recommendations for restructuring the account management team. Thompson, one of the board members who'd questioned Arya's judgment, interrupted halfway through. "These projections seem optimistic. What's your confidence interval?" 95%. I've included the full methodology in the appendix. "And you're suggesting we pull resources from new business development to focus on retention? That's a significant strategic shift. The data supports it. We're spending 80% of our acquisition budget chasing accounts with a 12% close rate. Meanwhile, we're losing existing clients who have a 90% renewal rate when properly managed. The math is straightforward. The math assumes your models are correct. They are. I've validated them against 3 years of historical data, and the variance is less than 2%. Thompson leaned back in his chair, skeptical. Or you're seeing what you want to see because it supports a conclusion that makes your girlfriend look good. The room went silent. Liam kept his expression neutral, but inside his heart was hammering. My analysis has nothing to do with Arya Blake's leadership. It has to do with revenue optimization. If you'd like to challenge my methodology, I'm happy to walk through every assumption, but questioning my professional integrity because of my personal life is inappropriate. Patricia cleared her throat. He's right, Thompson. The data is solid. I've reviewed it independently. If you have methodological concerns, raise them. Otherwise, we're discussing the recommendations on merit. Thompson backed down, but the damage was done. The rest of the presentation felt tainted, every question loaded with subtext. After the meeting, Arya caught up with Liam in the hallway. You okay? She asked quietly. Fine. That was out of line. What Thompson said. It's what everyone's thinking. He just said it out loud. I can talk to him. Make it clear that kind of comment isn't acceptable. Don't. It'll make it worse. Just let it go. But he couldn't let it go. That night, lying in bed after Maya was asleep, the comment played on repeat in his head. Seeing what you want to see because it makes your girlfriend look good. Was he? Was his analysis compromised? He'd checked his work a dozen times, had another analyst validate the models, but doubt crept in anyway. His phone buzzed. Arya. Still thinking about Thompson? How did you know? Because I am too. He's an ass, but he's not entirely wrong to question. We have to be more careful than everyone else now. Every decision we make gets scrutinized. I know. Did I tell you Patricia called me after the meeting? No. What did she say? That your presentation was the best board analysis she's seen in her 12 years on the board. That Thompson is threatened because you're better at this than he ever was, and that she's voting to implement your recommendations in full. Liam felt some of the tension ease. Really? Really? Your work is solid, Liam. Don't let one bitter board member make you doubt that. It's not just him, it's everyone. Jennifer won't make eye contact with me in meetings. Marcus sent me a passive-aggressive email about maintaining objectivity. Even Derek, who's supposedly my friend, told me people are waiting for me to fail. Do you want to stop? We can stop. I can restructure again, move you somewhere else. No, I'm done running. But I'm also tired of fighting, of every day feeling like I have to prove myself twice as hard as everyone else. I know, me too. They were quiet for a moment, both holding phones in separate apartments, connected by nothing but a call and the choice to keep choosing each other. Arya? Yeah? What if we just stopped caring what they think? I'm not sure that's possible. No, I mean, what if we just did our jobs, lived our lives, and stopped trying to manage everyone else's opinions? We can't control what they say. We can only control what we do. That's easier said than done. Everything worth doing is. She laughed, tired but genuine. When did you become the optimistic one? I'm not optimistic. I'm just too stubborn to quit. I like stubborn. Good, because I'm planning to be stubborn about you for a very long time. Is that a threat or a promise? Both. The conversation shifted to easier topics. Maya's upcoming school project, a terrible movie Arya had watched, plans for the weekend. Small talk that felt significant because it was normal. Because it was the kind of conversation people in actual relationships had, not people constantly fighting to justify their existence. When they finally hung up, Liam felt steadier. Not certain, he was still too much of an analyst for certainty, but grounded. The weekend came, and Arya showed up Saturday morning with groceries and a plan to teach Maya how to make pancakes from scratch. It went about as well as expected. Flour everywhere, eggshells in the batter, smoke from the first batch that stuck to the pan. But by the end, they had a plate of semi-edible pancakes, and Maya was beaming with pride. These are the best pancakes I've ever made, Maya announced. They're the only pancakes you've ever made, Liam pointed out. Still counts. After breakfast, Maya disappeared into her room to work on her Lego castle, leaving Liam and Arya alone in the kitchen. She's getting attached, Liam said, watching his daughter through the doorway. To you, to this. Is that a problem? It's terrifying. What if I... Don't borrow trouble. We're here now. Let's be here. It was good advice. Advice he'd given to others 100 times, but never followed himself. They spent the afternoon in the kind of comfortable silence that only comes when people have stopped performing for each other. Arya worked on her laptop at the kitchen table while Liam helped Maya with her castle. Later, they took a walk to the park, the three of them, and Maya ran ahead to the playground while Liam and Arya followed at a slower pace. I deleted my dating profile, Arya said suddenly. Liam looked at her. When? Last week. It felt dishonest. Having it active when I'm... She gestured vaguely between them. When I'm here. Was that hard? Deleting it? Honestly, it was a relief. I'm tired of looking, tired of trying to find something when I already found it. What did you find? She stopped walking, turned to face him. Someone who sees me. Not the CEO or the Stanford MBA or the youngest whatever. Just me. The person who's bad at making pasta and reads the end of books first and doesn't know how to exist without a goal. That person is pretty great. She's a mess. Most people are. We just hide it better. Maya called to them from the top of the slide, waving enthusiastically. They waved back, and when they started walking again, Arya reached for his hand. It was such a small gesture, such a normal thing, but it felt monumental. This public acknowledgement that they were together, that they weren't hiding, that whatever consequences came from being seen together were worth it. The real breakthrough came a month later, in the most unexpected way. Maya's school was having a parent-teacher conference, and Liam had blocked off the afternoon to attend. But that morning, he woke up with a fever of 101 and a throat that felt like sandpaper. He tried to push through it. He'd been to every conference since Maya started school, but by noon, he was barely functional. Arya found him in his office, looking miserable. You need to go home, she said. Can't. Maya's conference is at 3. So reschedule. She's been talking about it all week. She wants to show me her science project. I can't miss it. Arya studied him for a moment, then made a decision. Give me the details. I'll go. What? To the conference. I'll go in your place. Take notes. Videotape the science project. You go home and sleep. Arya, you can't. Why not? I know her teacher. I know Maya. I can handle a parent-teacher conference. Because you're not her parent. The words came out harsher than he intended, and he watched Arya absorb them like a physical blow. You're right, she said quietly. I'm not, but I care about her. And I'm here. And you're sick. So unless you have a better option, I'm offering. Liam didn't have a better option. Mrs. Chen was out of town visiting her daughter. His own mother was 4 hours away, and he was in no condition to sit through a conference without potentially passing out. Okay, he said, but call me after. Tell me everything. Deal. Arya went to the conference. Liam went home, took medicine, and passed out on the couch. He woke up 3 hours later to his phone ringing. How'd it go? He asked, his voice rough. Maya's teacher loves her. She's reading 2 grade levels ahead. Her science project about how plants grow in different light conditions was apparently the best in the class. She asked about you, though, was disappointed you weren't there. Did you explain? I told her you were sick and that I was filling in. She asked who I was, and I said I was your... Arya paused. I said I was your girlfriend. Is that okay? I know we haven't really defined... It's perfect. Yeah? Yeah. What did Maya say? She introduced me to 3 of her friends as Dad's girlfriend who helps with Legos. Then she showed me her entire desk organization system, which is very elaborate and involves color-coded folders. She gets that from me. I figured. Arya's voice softened. Liam, her teacher pulled me aside after, said Maya talks about me a lot, that she's happier this year than she's been in a while, that whatever we're doing, it's working. Liam felt his chest tighten. We're not doing anything. We're just living. We're just living. And apparently that's enough. After they hung up, Liam lay on the couch and thought about what Arya had said. We're just living. Such a simple concept, but he'd spent so many years just surviving that he'd forgotten what living actually looked like. It looked like someone showing up to a parent-teacher conference when you were too sick to go. It looked like cereal on Saturday mornings, and Lego dragons, and terrible homemade pancakes. It looked like choosing someone every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. When Arya brought Maya home that evening, his daughter launched into a detailed recap of the conference before Liam could even say hello. And Mrs. Peterson said my project was the best and I got a certificate and Arya took a picture and, Daddy, why didn't you tell me Arya was coming? I would have worn my good shirt. You were wearing your dinosaur shirt. That is your good shirt. Still, I like it when Arya comes to school things. After Maya went to bed, Arya stayed. They sat on the couch, Liam still feeling rough but better, and she told him everything he'd missed. Thank you, he said, for being there. For her. You don't have to thank me. I wanted to be there. I know. But still, it means something that you do that. Liam, can I ask you something? Always? What are we doing? Long term? Because I need to know if we're building toward something or just enjoying it while it lasts. He'd been avoiding this question, avoiding any conversation that forced him to think beyond the immediate moment. But Arya deserved better than avoidance. I don't know how to plan long-term anymore, he admitted. I used to. Before Maya's mom left, I had the whole thing mapped out. Marriage, house, 2 kids, retirement plan. Then it all fell apart and I learned that planning doesn't matter when the other person decides to leave. I'm not going to leave. You can't promise that. Nobody can. Life changes. People change. Feelings change. You're right. I can't promise I'll never leave. But I can promise I'll fight like hell to stay. I can promise that when things get hard, and they will get hard, I won't just disappear. I'll show up. I'll have the hard conversations. I'll do the work. Isn't that enough? Liam thought about it. About what enough meant when you'd had everything ripped away before. About the difference between certainty and commitment. It's more than enough, he said finally. It's everything. So what does that mean for us? It means we keep going. We keep showing up. We build something real instead of something perfect. I like real. Me too. She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, and Liam wrapped his arm around her. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just being. Eventually Arya said, Maya asked me something today, at the conference. What? She asked if I was going to stay for real, not just visiting. For real. Liam's heart stopped. What did you tell her? I told her I wanted to, that I was trying, that sometimes grown-ups have to figure things out, but that I wasn't going anywhere right now. Was that okay? It was perfect, honest, but hopeful. That's all we can give her. She said she hoped I'd stay because you smile more when I'm around, that you're less sad. She said that? She did. And Liam, she's right. You do smile more. I like that I can do that for you. You do a lot for me. For both of us. You do a lot for me too. You made me remember that life exists outside of work. That connection matters more than achievement, that being seen is better than being admired. They fell asleep on the couch again, tangled together in a way that would leave them both sore in the morning, but neither of them cared. The months that followed weren't easy. The rumors never fully stopped. Thompson continued to be a problem until Patricia finally had enough and removed him from the board. Jennifer eventually transferred to another company, spreading gossip on her way out. But others, Marcus, Derek, even some people Liam had never been close with, came around. Saw that the work was solid, that Arya's leadership was stronger, not weaker, that sometimes people were just people trying to figure things out. 6 months after that first dinner, Arya's lease was up on her apartment. She'd been spending most nights at Liam's place anyway, keeping a drawer of clothes in his bedroom, a toothbrush in the bathroom, her laptop on the kitchen table. I could renew, she said one night, lying in bed next to him. Or I could not. What does not renewing look like? It looks like moving in here, officially, if that's something you want. What about Maya? Have you asked her? I wanted to ask you first. Ask her. If she's okay with it, then I'm okay with it. Better than okay. Arya brought it up the next morning over breakfast. Maya was eating cereal, half focused on a cartoon, when Arya said, Hey Maya, can I ask you something important? Maya muted the TV. Okay. How would you feel if I moved in here, like all the time, not just visiting? Maya's face went through several expressions. Surprise, consideration, then pure joy. For real? For real. If you're okay with it. Do I get to help you unpack? Absolutely. And you'll be here for breakfast every day? Every day. And you'll read me bedtime stories? As many as you want. Maya looked at Liam. Daddy, can she stay? If you want her to, yeah, she can stay. I want her to stay forever. Arya's eyes went bright with tears she didn't let fall. Forever is a long time, kiddo. I know, but you're family now. Family stays. Out of the mouths of 7-year-olds, Liam thought. The wisdom nobody asked for, but everyone needed. Arya moved in the following month. It wasn't seamless. Her stuff didn't fit in his closet. Maya had opinions about where everything should go, and they had their first real fight about whether dishes should be washed immediately or left in the sink overnight. But they figured it out. Compromised. Built a life that had space for all three of them. A year after that first conversation about dating profiles, Liam woke up on a Saturday morning to Maya jumping on his bed. Daddy, Arya made pancakes and they're actually good this time. He stumbled into the kitchen to find Arya at the stove, hair pulled back, wearing one of his old t-shirts, making a stack of pancakes that looked genuinely edible. Practice makes adequate, she said when she saw him. They look great. They look acceptable, but Maya's standards have dropped significantly since she started helping me cook. They ate breakfast together, the three of them, in the kitchen that had gone from Liam's to theirs. After Maya ran off to play, Liam and Arya stayed at the table. I need to tell you something, Arya said. His stomach dropped. Here it comes, he thought, the old fear rising. The moment when she realizes this isn't what she wanted. Okay, the board offered me a position. CEO of their parent company. It's in New York. Significant raise. More responsibility. Everything I've been working toward my entire career. Liam felt the floor drop out from under him. When did they offer it? Last week. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. What did you say? I said no. He stared at her. What? I turned it down. Told them I was happy where I was. That I'd built something here and I wasn't interested in starting over somewhere else. Arya, that's everything you wanted. The next level. You can't turn that down for you? For Maya? For this life we built? Watch me. I already did. But, Liam, listen to me. I spent 29 years chasing the next thing, the next promotion, the next achievement, the next milestone. And you know what I learned? There's always a next thing. The finish line keeps moving. But this? She gestured around the kitchen at the life they'd built. This is real. This is what I've been looking for without knowing I was looking for it. I'm not giving it up for a title and a bigger paycheck. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Liam got up, walked around the table, pulled her into his arms. I love you. I should have said it months ago, but I was scared. But I love you, completely. Messily. Permanently. I love you too. Have for a while now, just waiting for you to catch up. They kissed in the kitchen, surrounded by dirty dishes and Maya's drawings on the refrigerator and the beautiful ordinary mess of the life they'd built. Maya wandered back in, saw them kissing, and made a gagging sound. Gross, but also cute, but also gross. Get used to it, kiddo, Arya said. I'm not going anywhere. Good, because you still owe me help with my science project. We're building a volcano and Dad said it needs to be supervised because of the vinegar. I said that because last time you did a science project unsupervised, you flooded the bathroom. That was one time, and the project was about water displacement. They spent the afternoon building a volcano in the kitchen, making a mess, laughing when the eruption was more impressive than expected and got baking soda on the ceiling. It was chaotic and imperfect and exactly right. That night, after Maya was asleep, Liam and Arya sat on the couch with glasses of wine. Neither of them was really drinking. Do you ever regret it? Liam asked. Saying yes to that first dinner, getting involved with someone who came with so much baggage? Every relationship comes with baggage. Mine came with impossible career expectations and abandonment issues from parents who cared more about achievement than connection. Yours came with an incredible daughter and a protective streak a mile wide. I'll take your baggage over mine any day. That's not an answer. No, I don't regret it. Not even the hard parts. Especially not the hard parts. Because the hard parts taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone worth fighting for and then doing the fighting. We did a lot of fighting. We did, and we'll do more. But we also showed up every single time. That's what matters. Liam pulled her closer. I'm glad you asked me to fix your dating profile.
I'm glad you told me it was terrible.
It was terrible, genuinely one of the worst I've ever seen. I was trying to sound professional. You sounded like a robot interviewing for a corporate merger. Well, I got you in the end, so maybe the profile worked exactly as intended. You got me by being honest, by letting me see the person behind the CEO. That's what worked. That's what you taught me, that being real is better than being perfect. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights through the window, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way and chosen to keep finding each other every day since. Maya appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. I had a bad dream. Come here, kiddo, Liam said, making space on the couch. She climbed between them, small and warm and half asleep. Arya wrapped an arm around her and Maya snuggled closer. Are you staying forever? Maya asked, her voice drowsy. Like, really forever? Arya looked at Liam and he nodded. Yeah, kiddo, Arya said softly. I'm staying forever. For real. Good. Because you're family now, and family doesn't leave. Maya fell asleep between them, and Liam felt something settle in his chest that had been restless for years. Not certainty. He was still too much of an analyst to believe in absolute certainty. But something close to it. Something that felt like peace. Arya caught his eye over Maya's head, smiled that small, genuine smile that was just for him, and mouthed, I love you. He mouthed it back, and they sat there in the dark apartment with his daughter asleep between them. And Liam realized something profound. For 10 years, he'd been protecting himself and Maya from loss by refusing to let anyone close enough to leave. He'd built walls so high that nothing could get in. Not pain, but not joy either. Not risk, but not reward. He'd been surviving, not living. And then Arya Blake had walked into his office with a terrible dating profile and a request for honesty, and those walls had started to crack. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been smooth. There had been gossip and judgment, and moments when walking away would have been simpler than staying. But they'd stayed. They'd fought. They'd shown up for each other and for Maya day after day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. Because that's what love was. Not the absence of difficulty, not the guarantee of permanence, but the choice to keep choosing someone, even when you were scared. Even when the world told you it wouldn't work. Even when every logical part of your brain said to protect yourself. Love was the willingness to be seen, to be vulnerable, to tear down walls and risk getting hurt because the alternative, living in a fortress alone, wasn't really living at all. Liam looked at Arya, at Maya sleeping peacefully between them, at the life they'd built in this small apartment with its leaky sink and drawings on the refrigerator and comfortable worn couch. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and sometimes hard. But it was real. And real, he'd learned, was so much better than perfect. Real was enough. Real was everything. And for the first time in a decade, Liam Carter, single father, data analyst, professional wall builder, felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Not because he'd planned it, not because he'd mapped out every contingency and protected himself from every possible outcome, but because he'd taken a risk. He'd said yes when every instinct told him to say no. He'd let someone in when he'd sworn he never would again. And she'd stayed. Not because it was easy, not because it was convenient, but because she'd found something worth fighting for and decided to do the fighting. They both had. That was the lesson, Liam realized. The thing he'd teach Maya when she was old enough to understand. That life wasn't about avoiding pain or protecting yourself from loss. It was about finding people worth the risk and choosing them anyway. About building something real instead of something safe. About showing up, day after day, even when you were terrified. About learning that walls don't protect you from heartbreak, they just guarantee loneliness. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone stay.